now in a tight race, Josh Allen would be the MVP frontrunner. I think
we are
Tua,
so back.
Tua and Christian McCaffrey are there too. I think, but I'm just
What's McCaffrey have to do?
I think
play court.
No, I think he.
I guess so.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's been pretty effective. Because there aren't that many quarterbacks winning a ton of games who are having crazy statistical years.
We are back. Can I don't
right now, I got to hear who would be MVP.
Dear people of Buffalo, upstate New York, I love you. And we should all do our best to enjoy, the journey rather than just focus on the destination. Drop the banner, guys. Back-to-back September champs. They are. Back-to-back September champs. We were right on this. We were sitting right here last year. Josh Allen's the MVP. You see what he does? Oh, my God. You see how dynamic they look? Oh, guys.
Good, though.
Yeah, they look great.
They look
great. And I get it. Listen, fair is fair. I talk about roller coaster Josh Allen, and yesterday was the highest peak of his career, a perfect passer rating. But what does that look like? A roller coaster. That's what it is, guys. Like this year, because last week the team played great. He actually didn't have a great game statistically, at 72 or something passer rating. But that's what it is. And that, you know what that tends to mean? We coming down across the pond against Trevor, but we can wait to talk about that later this week. The reason the Bills fans right now, I think, should be the most excited is not only because of the time of the year it is, which is when they're at their best. They looked great last year. But is also because that defensive front.
Absolutely.
With a defensive head coach who was calling the plays when he hadn't been, and I'm not trying to disparage Leslie Frazier, but he got the job because of what he did defensively, and they look like a different team. Now, the loss of Trey White is devastating, and that was the saddest scene of yesterday because Trey seemed to know how bad that was, and it seems to have been confirmed. But right now, listen, the Bills look awesome, and I'm not going to is it a little odd to me that right now we're kind of like pillaring the Chiefs for almost losing to the Jets, and the Bills, who were anointing, actually did lose to the Jets, and it's because Mahomes threw 2 picks and didn't play well, but Josh had 4 turnovers and they lost the game? Sure, but I'm used to that double standard, so I don't mind. Give them their flowers. He's the September MVP, and they're the September champs. I'm happy with it.
Yes, give them their flowers.
Give them their flowers.
They look like the best team in the AFC. Based on what we've seen, and particularly the past 3 weeks, even yesterday, this was a Miami Dolphins team that we were saying they had the best record. Tua was playing great. Yeah. He had only thrown 1 interception. Like, they looked unstoppable offensively. And then even to start that game, it looked like it was going to be a shootout.
And then everyone's going to score.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then the Buffalo defense said, wait a minute. Let's start playing ball. And that, for me, was the biggest takeaway. As great as Josh Allen has been and that offense has been humming, that defense to do what they did against a team that put up 70, and now obviously they're not going to put up 70 every single week, but to stifle them when we've seen them play in shootouts, we've seen them go up to Gillette and kind of play the dink and dunk methodical game. We've seen them play a very eclectic way of putting the ball in the end zone and winning games. And yesterday, they were stumped.
And what I would say is, for the Bills, in all seriousness, massive game, because it's their home game against an undefeated team in their division when they already have a loss and a divisional loss. So if they lose that game, Miami goes to 4-0, Buffalo falls to 2-2, 0-2 in the division, and has lost the head-to-head, the first game of the head-to-head already. So it's a massive game for them, and they overperformed. They didn't just perform, they overperformed. And this will look great next to the Super Bowl banner they hang in the practice facility.
All right, on the Miami side of the ball, Tua threw for 282. Got sacked 4 times. Here he is post-game.
It's very good because I would say it's also very humbling for a lot of people to be able to have the highest high, and then you lose in a manner like this, and it's very humbling, and it's for some it's much needed.
Okay, was that shout out his own team there?
I mean, you wonder, it must have been somebody in the locker room acting like this. Crazy. Yeah, it was definitely a wake-up call.
Well, we don't know if it's a teammate he's talking about. Maybe he's talking about his brother, who was like, man, you guys are going to go undefeated. I'm just saying we don't know who he's talking about.
I mean, he is right. It is a good wake-up call.
Yeah.
And whoever
they're
needed
wearing these emoji shirts up there. They're talking about in the NFL films, Tyreek is planning on celebrations pre-huddle. So the Dolphins were due, and I think the Bills wanted to send a message. So the question is this blowout something or nothing?
I think it's something very simply. If the Dolphins' defense doesn't get better, the offense is going to have to be awesome every week. And this was the first team all year that was able to disrupt them or timing it all and get to TUA it all. And all of us. And that was, I said it last week. Last year, we think about last year as healthy TUA, not healthy TUA. But there was a time in the year before he suffered the last of the concussions, when the Chargers and the Niners played him in back-to-back weeks. TUA was ostensibly healthy, and they were totally stymied because they messed up the timing. They got to TUA. Going into yesterday's game, TUA had been sacked once all year. They got to him all night long, or all afternoon long, I should say, and they looked incredibly mortal. And that defense looked like it's looked all year, which is mediocre. So I don't want to overreact, but of course, this was a team people were talking about being the favorites to win the Super Bowl. Of course, it's something.
To sack him 4 times as quick as he gets rid of the ball, I mean, a lot of quarterbacks, that might have been 6 times or 7 times. So it's definitely something, because Nick mentioned the offense has to be awesome every night. Well, it wasn't awesome. I know they made do against New England, but they only scored 24 points. That wasn't awesome. They're giving up
60.
Yeah, that's right.
They're giving up 29.
It's a divisional opponent.
I'm just saying, they didn't look like they've had one incredible lights out offensive game, and then they scored 24 points. Yeah, and but that's my point too. They could have easily lost that game.
That's correct.
They won by 2 points against the Chargers. So it is on the defense. They got to improve on that side of the ball, because I think the Chiefs, once they get humming, the Bills, they will be able to score with Miami. And it was alarming, because I said last week, Miami seemed to be a tough matchup for them. Last year, they beat them with Tua. Then they lost to them. They split in the regular season. And then they almost beat them in the playoffs with Skylar Thompson. And so for them to dismantle Miami the way they did yesterday, it was impressive from the Bills, and something to watch for them.
It's always something, right, when you get beat in this manner. But ultimately, when I look at the Miami Dolphins, I don't think it's going to be anything moving forward, because they've done what they've shown to do. Mike McDaniel has shown to do is adjust. Like, the way that they've played in almost every game has had to look and be different. I expect them moving into next week to be different. Now, we saw them now get pressured on Tua. We had not seen that all year.
That's right.
We see them not getting pressure. That has been happening all year. It's hurting them in the secondary. So there's a lot of things that has already been presently visible for them as far as voids they needed to correct and woes that they have been overcoming, because they found a way to win and put the ball in the end zone offensively. So they knew who they were defensively. It's the offensive side of things that is really something that they're going to have to adjust.
Tua 4 sacks, 9 hits. So came into it, 1 sack, 5 hits.
You know,
So Von Miller comes back
to the Bills.
Their front
Listen,
is
that's
tough.
how you win September championship.